Metallica had written some of the most iconic ballads by 1990, but they had become burnt out doing the same thing over and over again. So they flipped the script entirely with The Unforgiven. They stripped everything down, front-loaded the heaviness, played with tension in ways they'd never done before, and somehow made simplicity feel massive. Every riff, every note, every quiet pause is calculated to make you feel something. Anger, regret, isolation, and then this weird, haunting release. It's Metallica, but not how you know them. In this video, we're going to break down how The Unforgiven breaks the rules of the Metallica ballad. From the tone of James's guitar to Kirk's solo that cuts straight through the emotion, and how that mindset shaped the entire Black Album. I just wanted to take a quick second to say thank you. We've recently hit 2,000 subscribers, and I'd like to hit 3,000 by the end of the year. If you love deep dives into metal, guitar, and the stories behind the music, hit subscribe, so you won't miss a thing. By the end of the 80s, Metallica had done everything that a thrash band could do. They were on top of the world, but totally burnt out. They'd spent years pushing themselves, writing faster, heavier, and more complex songs every time, and they just hit a wall. So they had to ask the big question: do we just keep being the kings of thrash, or do we evolve into something bigger? And they chose to evolve. For their fifth album, they brought in Bob Rock, a producer who had already had a clear idea of how to make Metallica sound massive, but that also meant tearing apart how they'd always worked. James hated the idea of his songs being picked apart, especially since his writing was personal and guarded. But once he dropped his defenses, everything opened up. Bob pushed them hard. He forced them to get uncomfortable and simplify in ways that felt unnatural. Metallica had just come out of what they called their CNN era, full of heavy political and world commentary. But now they wanted to write about themselves. If they were going to make songs that truly hit people, the lyrics had to match the new sound. And just like the lyrics, the music got stripped down as well. Instead of cramming a dozen riffs into one song, they focused on one central idea and made every note count. Every word, every riff was shaped for impact. They broke everything down, tested every habit, and rebuilt it all in the studio. Out of that process came the stadium anthem Enter Sandman, the cashmere of the 90s Sad But True, and the introspective power of The Unforgiven. They walked out of those sessions a different band. Their riffs were tighter, the songs hit harder, and for the first time the emotion felt bigger than the speed. That shift set the stage for The Unforgiven, a song that took everything they had learned about heaviness and turned it inside out. Before The Unforgiven, Metallica had a formula for their ballads, and it worked. You hear it in Fade to Black, Welcome Home Sanitarium, and One. Different riffs, different moods, but the same DNA. It starts with a clean intro, Kirk lays down a solo, it builds, and then the verse riff kicks in. The verse stays clean at first, then layers distortion to drive into the massive chorus. That's the classic Metallica move, tension and release, soft and heavy colliding. The chorus gives James rooms for those big emotional lyrics before dropping back into the clean parts and repeating everything. After the second chorus, it drops into a bridge and another solo. Then they start cranking up the heavy parts, pushing the emotion higher until it bursts into that final section with harmonies and solos. Metallica has always loved writing songs that move. Dynamic shifts, tempo changes, and emotional peaks. Every ballad before this has gone through that same songwriting arc. But The Unforgiven throws all of that out the window. It kicks off with that reversed horn, loud and uneasy, before dropping into a clean, somber melody that sets the tone right away. Instead of saving the heaviness for the end, Metallica front-loads it. The verses are where the weight hits. James sounds pissed here, and you can feel it in both his voice and his playing. Then the song pulls back for the chorus, which is the exact opposite of what they used to do. It softens instead of explodes. The contrast gives the whole thing this haunting tension, like it's breathing in and out between frustration and reflection. Even the bridge flips the script again. Kirk starts with a clean, almost fragile solo that builds into something way bigger and more emotional. And rather than ending with a wall of sound, the band fades it all out, letting James's vocals and the stripped-down instrumentals linger until it disappears. They didn't just simplify the Metallica ballad here. They completely rewired it. By swapping the clean and heavy sections, they gave us something completely unexpected from them. It's the same DNA, just rearranged in a completely different manner. The guitar tone on this album is very Metallica, but like the writing, it got leveled up to match the standards that they were going for on this album. The core sound comes from a Mesa Boogie Mark II C++ running through a Marshall cab with V30s. But allegedly Bob Rock also had his own Jose Arredondo modded Marshall in the studio, and he blended those two sounds together. As we all know, James lost his and would have been really receptive to using it in the studio. And because they were going for a massive wall of sound in this album, they blended in a bunch of different amps and tried out everything they could. But the basis of the tone was the Mesa Boogie, the Marshall, and at the end of the signal chain was the two Aphex EQ F2s. The same ones that they've used forever to tighten up the tone and scoop out some mids. But Bob, being the producer that he was, made sure that there was some space left for the bass to shine through on this album. As for the guitars, James was using his ESP MX Explorers. It's tough to tell which one from the studio footage. The black guitar definitely looks like the Fuck 'Em Up MX220, and the white one's a little bit harder to nail down. Couldn't find any identifying marks on it. It definitely could be the So Fucking What guitar. Either way, all of his guitars at this time had the EMG 8160 combo, so he was using active pickups in the studio. The clean sections for the song were tracked on an acoustic guitar. It was an old classical Spanish guitar that James wanted to use. On Kirk's side, he used a Gibson ES295 with P90 pickups for the clean chorus parts, and a Fender with single coils for the solos. So if you're trying to recreate this song faithfully at home, you definitely need 3 different guitars. You'll need one guitar with active pickups, one guitar with single coil pickups, and a classical Spanish nylon guitar. You also need a Mesa Boogie Mark II C++, which has been reissued, but it's really expensive. But there is a lot of good digital options. For my tone, I'm using my Harley Benton EX84. It's got the same EMG 8160 combo that James was running. I'm putting that through the Neural DSP Mesa Boogie suite, and I'm using 2 V30 IRs. One mic with an SM57 and one with an UA87. Like the rest of the album, the guitars here walk that perfect line. Heavy, scooped, and tight, but still clear enough to sit perfectly in the mix. Every layer adds weight to that somber, restless feeling running through The Unforgiven. And all that effort wasn't just to make it sound big, it was to make it feel heavy. And that's exactly what set the stage for the riffs themselves, where you can hear the tension and restraint come to life. What's wild about The Unforgiven is that every riff feels like it's holding something back. Metallica had found a new kind of heaviness here. Not through aggression, but tension. Every part feels restrained, controlled, and almost suffocating. And that's exactly what makes it hit so damn hard. The song kicks off with James's country western Morricone-styled intro. It's lonely, cinematic, and sets the whole emotional tone right away. Then Kirk comes in with that main melody, the one that they circle back to in all the choruses. And it's so simple but so damn effective, and it gives the song something to orbit around. When the verses hit, that's where Metallica flips the script on what their ballads could be. The riff underneath James's vocals is so easy to overlook, but it's doing a lot of work. It's heavy, kind of stubborn, and matches the frustration in what he's singing. It's one of those riffs that's really simple, but it perfectly mirrors the emotions that he wants you to feel. Then the pre-chorus comes in on that pedal tone riff following the minor scale, and it's such a smart move. The pre-chorus literally bridges the two parts together, the heavier verse into the lighter chorus. It's melodic, but it still hits with weight. It's the glue that holds the song together, and it's repetitive on purpose, tightening the space until everything finally breaks open. And when it does, the chorus feels like the armor drops. Suddenly, it's open, clean, vulnerable. The chorus brings back the intro riff, cementing this part in our minds. It keeps things grounded and gives the song a haunting feeling. But it feels familiar. Then all the instrumentals repeat, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, but it never feels stale because how the dynamics shift each time. Then comes the bridge and solo section. This is easily one of Kirk's best solos. It hits every emotional note without leaning on a lot of flash. He takes the melodies we've already heard and twists them just enough to make it feel like a release, while James keeps it anchored underneath with the rhythm from the verse and the pre-chorus. It's a perfect balance of tension and resolution. Then we're back into one last chorus before the end of the song. The fade out used to be the weakest part for me. I just felt like it went on a little too long. But in doing some research, I think it's a smart move here. I had to figure out why this fade out could have musically made sense. And it's because it signifies lingering feelings. And as we know, this is the first part in a trilogy of songs. So clearly James has still had lingering feelings on this topic. And that's what makes The Unforgiven so brilliant. It's not about how complex it is, it's how intentional everything feels. Every note, every pause, every moment of restraint. This is Metallica learning that sometimes the loudest thing that you can do is holding something back. And that's just one song showing how far they would push themselves on this album. That willingness to experiment and rewrite the rules didn't just stop at The Unforgiven. It shaped the entire album. Quick pause. If you're loving this deep dive into The Unforgiven and you want to support me, I'd suggest checking out my Patreon or my YouTube membership. For just a few bucks a month, you get early access to ad-free content, free guitar tone packs, discounts on my demo packs, your name in my videos, and a chance to shape the content that I make. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, please go check that out. And if you want the best tone-matched album IRs in the game, go check out ToneDeck, and use my discounts down below. Alright, now let's get back into the video. This reinvention is felt across the entire album. They wanted simpler, catchier songs, and to dig into emotions they hadn't before. And they nailed it. The album dropped on August 12th, 1991, shot straight to the top of the Billboard 200, and didn't come down for a while. In just 2 weeks, it went platinum in the US alone, not to mention topping charts in other countries and selling hundreds of thousands of copies worldwide. Everything they poured into the studio paid off, proving that even with a new writing philosophy, they could still make music that connected with themselves and with their fans. The Unforgiven hit the stage for the first time on October 12th, 1991, and has been played 543 times since, making it the 5th most performed song from the album. It's been part of some of Metallica's most iconic moments, including Live Shit and Guitar Hero Metallica. Released as the second single on October 28th, 1991, it went platinum and reached number 35 on the US Billboard Hot 100 and number 10 on the mainstream rock chart. I think what's really admirable about Metallica at this time is that they chose to reinvent themselves on their own terms. No label pressure, no financial need, just a desire to grow and make music that mattered. Sure, they lost some fans along the way, but they've been called sellouts since the second album, and obviously it wasn't enough people to make a big dent. They write music for themselves, take risks, and sometimes luck lands perfectly. I'm glad they got vulnerable here. While they weren't a thrash band anymore, they stayed metal, they stayed Metallica, but they brought something fresh to the table. I've learned so much about songwriting just from breaking down the tracks on this album. The Unforgiven shows you don't have to follow the same ballad formula every time. You can simplify, rearrange, and still balance heaviness and melody perfectly. Love it or hate it, this song has earned its place in Metallica's history. And that's why, even decades later, it still hits like a masterclass of emotion, tension, and songwriting. If you made it this far, thank you for watching. I hope you really enjoyed this one. I think this is a really good song, but definitely not one of my favorites. I'd like to hear what you guys think about it down below. And if you made it this far and enjoyed this video, I think you should check out this one right here. It's on Metallica's Sad But True. It's the Cashmere of the 90s. And that's a direct quote from Bob Rock. I broke down the song, what went into it, and I did a cover of it. So if you enjoyed this one, I think you'll enjoy that one. Again, thank you for watching. Stay metal. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.